What's up, crypto junkies? It's Jay and welcome to another training video. Ooh, am I excited, because here's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk Mad Hatter, but we're going to dive deeper into the indicators. We're going to dive deeper into RSI, MACD, and Bollinger Bands, and what that's really going to do for you with the Mad Hatter strategy. Now, if you have no clue what the Mad Hatter strategy is, you're crazy. Over 20,000 views on that video already, but there will be a link on the video right now, hopefully. And there will be a link underneath this video. That's actually on the Crypto Junkies channel. This video will probably be on the Crypto J channel. Now, I've removed my face as I do in most of these videos. I don't have my head in the corner because I want to show you the whole chart. I want to show you the whole action going on here. And also, too, we listen to feedback, and I think we'll probably not do any edits on this video. I'll do it raw and just clean it up, bump up the volume. Because the volume will be really low on this, and deliver it to you that way. So we're going to work within just one chart specifically, and I want to use this as like a really, hopefully, hard-hitting example. This morning I was in a Discord and I was talking, and I said, hey, who's got the screener set up? If you haven't seen the screener, if you haven't seen the screener video, then you're going to want to go ahead and check that out. Again, there will be a link somewhere on and around this video to a fresh video that I just shot talking about it. The screener is a built-in tool right here in the lower left-hand corner, provided by TradingView. We make some changes to help it fit our Mad Hatter strategy. Also, too, shout out to Hassbot, because their trading software now has a Mad Hatter strategy. They've been running it for a while, constantly dialing that in, and so you can expect, yes, you can expect a Mad Hatter Hass trading video. So we're just getting started with this Mad Hatter stuff. All right, let's dive in though, shall we? So you're up to date, right? You've watched the screener video, you got your screener set up, you've watched the Mad Hatter video, you're like, okay, Jay, I get it. You got your spreadsheet out, tracking your profit and loss, your stop loss situation, all that's good to go. I want to talk to you about indicators. So here we go. Live scenario. It's this morning. We're right here, and I'm using this right-hand line. Like, look at this hard line right here. This is all the data that hasn't happened. So we're going to treat this and walk through this chart as if it's just happening right now. I called this out this morning, and it was before I had added MACD to the chart, but I said, okay, look what's going on here, guys. First, we have what appears to be, it was right as this candle was forming, this red one, okay? And this green one was just forming right there. So I'm talking as this is happening. Okay, well, what's the first thing we see? We see it touching on the bottom Bollinger Band. Now, one thing I will say is that this is the start of a bulge in the Bollinger Bands. Now, there's two things that happen with the Bollinger Bands. They shrink or they bulge. Now, a bulge, especially when we catch it in the beginning, usually signifies a bull run. And a tightening or a, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm blanking, but you know, when they kind of scrunch together and tighten, that choking out really indicates what's about to happen before the bulge. So if we rewind, then this tightening, and look at this. This is all consolidation. And then what happens? Oh my gosh, we're consolidating. If we would have been watching back here earlier in that day, we would have seen this probably coming on the horizon. And then what do you know? Here comes Jay making my comment, and we start to see this bulging, okay? Bulges don't last forever, but they're usually directly after this shrinking, like this, you know, this kind of squeeze. That's the word. There we go. Squeeze. That wasn't so hard. All right, so after the squeeze, we get a bulge. Squeeze and bulge, okay? If you watch the original webinar by John Bollinger from like 2015, hour well spent, you understand Bollinger Band percentages. You understand what this line is. This is a little bit beyond a simple moving average line. Stochastic RSI is incorporated in this. It's just a really great tool. It combines a lot of different things in one tool, which is why Bollinger Bands are so popular. All right, so I'm not going to dive super deep into Bollinger Bands. Just watch John's webinar if you want to know how he came up with this and the nuts and bolts of it, and the specifics on how the Bollinger Band percentages equated. You can do that. And you'd want to do that to get a better idea of your screener settings in the Mad Hatter screener. Anyways, I digress. So OMG, the first one that comes up on my screener this morning, I jump in. I see this happening. All right, here we go. Let's look here. We don't have a ton of volume, but it looks like the volume is going up. Like if we were to just take a quick look here, got my tool out. What does this look like? Volume overall is going up. Ignore red and green, okay? Volume compared to this consolidation period, this shrinking. I mean, gosh, we're already, things are already looking up. RSI is like sitting here on the floor. So I'm like, oh, this is good. Because why? Basic RSI rules, 30 and below. 30 is like your oversold line. Extreme overselling is like this example here. Oh my gosh, that's extreme overselling. What is that, 20? 20. Yeah, so 20 is considered extremely oversold, and then 70 is overbought, with 80 being extremely overbought. Let's shrink that down. So 80 way up here would be overbought, okay? And going back through some historic data, I mean, I'm on a 15-minute chart, but you could go back through and you would get to see the pattern and the habit of this. This coin, like all of them, are telling you a story. And the better you get at the storytelling part of it, then the better off you'll be, okay? I also just added a bunch of training on candles and just some graphics that you should probably print that out and leave it by your computer so that you just get really used to what these are, like hammers like this, where we got this long wick on the top, nothing on the bottom. Looks like what? Looks like a hammer. Okay, so those are really good. We got some spinning tops here. This looks like it's a doji or a morning star doji. That looks like a little morning star doji. That's indecision. Watch my video on candles if you need more on candle action. Hopefully there'll be a link on this screen. Gosh, plugging a ton of videos here, aren't I? All right, so let's get back into it here. RSI is on the floor. What are we seeing on MACD? Well, we're seeing, okay, no, I don't want that. Not yet, guys, not yet. Okay, so we've seen this candle happening, but what are we seeing already? This is our histogram. This green is our histogram, which is what I use the most. I use that, and I use blue crossing over the red as a indicator of what, you know, what we're talking about here, which is the cross, the MACD cross. And also too, a little late, but I'll say it, I'm not looking at this on Binance because this is in hindsight, and I want to give you the best possible example I can. TradingView now integrates with Binance, so that's why I'm using this. In the heat of the moment, would I be looking at this? Probably not. I'd probably just have the desktop open, the desktop app open for Binance, and that's it. So we're already seeing this, which is that we've come to the plateau here, and we're starting to see a divergence, okay? Which a divergence is an opposite in your oscillator or your indicator of what's happening with price. So if price is going up and oscillators are going down, that's a divergence. And then there's even hidden divergences, which are much harder to find. I've got a few actually highlighted here. Hopefully I can find them again when it comes time to talk about them. But I've got two specifically that are talked about. One being, I believe, a failure swing, but let's look at it in just a couple minutes. I just marked them out really quick before I flicked on the recording. But divergences and hidden divergences are really important. I'll cover those and just relax. We'll get there. Okay. So this is our plateau, and it looks like we're starting to get lower lows. Excuse me. Yeah, lower lows? No. Higher lows. There we go. Which you see the same representation is here. It looks like a pyramid. Doot. Step up, step up, step up, and down like a staircase. And then below, when we cross over below, this usually represents downturn in the price action. And what do you see? We see as this crossed over, and we've got this bearish divergence happening here. Well, it's not a divergence. It's more of a confluence. This is what's happening. And then we've got this... we're crossing back over, so blue's crossing back over. A further confluence that were bearish, and then we hit a crossover right here, which this is a lagging indicator, by the way, MACD, which is why you don't trade off the MACD alone. RSI gives you a ton of great data too, but we cannot trade off the RSI as well, because the RSI by itself will get us wrecked. And I'm going to show you examples of both. Just understand there's a method to the madness here. We use RSI or Stash RSI, MACD, with the Bollinger Bands and basic candle reading abilities, and you will be off to the races, my friends. And so your goal will be to always improve your abilities with BB bands, reading candles, patterns, volume, RSI, MACD, done. I shut this off earlier, didn't I? And it came right back on. I don't know who you think you are here, bud. But we need to get rid of you. There we go. Okay, so you got more room to work with. So we see this happening. We got RSI on the floor. volume is down, green volume is down, but overall volume is up. Okay, we've got this indecision candle right here, this green one. Then we got this little red top. Okay, RSI is on the floor. We got the histogram turning and starting to go up. Okay, we're not in it yet. We're waiting for confirmation. This candle wouldn't have been it either. Look at this new candle. Because it opened, for confirmation, we're looking for something to open and close higher than the last candle closed. So we want it to open at the close of the last candle and close higher than the close of the last candle. Rewind it, slow it down if you need to hear that again. But this one didn't do it. It opened and went lower than, well, actually it opened lower than the previous high and it closed at the same level. That's not confirmation. Does anything change here? Volume looks like it's going up. RSI is still on the floor, but we've got this, we further see on the screen that the histogram is going up. So we're changing from underneath to on top, right? We've got this upward motion happening, okay? Good sign. We're on the 15-minute too here, so we wouldn't have seen, it's not like we're waiting for each candle to form. We've got this countdown here, and we'd actually be watching this green candle that's all the way up against the wall here. We'd be watching this candle right here form, which, let me get my mouse out of the way. Let's move this. Let's do a dot. Can we do a dot? It still follows the price. It's got the price action following it. That's okay. So this green dot, we would have seen this one forming, or excuse me, the green candle, we would have seen it forming. Volume went down a little bit there, but haha, we see something happening. We see now the RSI is starting to tick up. Even just this little kick up from 30 to 40, a little 10-point kick. Okay, that tells us something. And we saw the MACD line squeezing back here. Let's rewind back. Sorry, I missed a kind of important part. Okay, MACD, the lines were getting closer together, and it looks like, man, just like on the horizon, we're minutes away from it crossing, right? Because that's all shrinking up. Well, here it is right here. We couldn't get confirmation there, but further MACD is further squeezing. Okay, so we've got the chart open. We're sitting here with our finger on the trigger. That would have been confirmation for me. It opened at, okay, this is really goofing me up. It opened at the close of the last candle, and then it started immediately ticking up. So let's say we're in this right now and this candle's forming. It would have been, you would have seen the wick start to form from it trying to be pulled up from the bulls. No bears pulling it down. So this is a very solid candle. Volume isn't there, okay, but we've now got this uptick in RSI, and we're about to cross on MACD. I would have entered right here. This would have been enough for me, okay? Now, all right, so I buy into my position here at 1540 sats, okay? Let's see what we further get here. Let me speed this up just a little bit. Okay, we get candles closing higher, and I want to stop right here. All right, so I got in right here, and then while we hit the top of the BB band, that's the strategy, right, Jay? Like, let's say I got in right here. Let's split this candle and say I got right in there. That's the strategy. I'm going to pull out. Well, 2.3%. Not that sexy. Not that sexy. So let's look here. What else is going on? And again, remember we're on a 15-minute. If we zoomed out on higher time frames, we're not going to see these deep pieces, but we'll see what's going on. So wait a second. Volume is very, very low. So that tells me that this isn't going to, there's a couple things this is going to directly reflect. It's going to reflect the RSI, which look, the RSI is almost overbought. How is that possible? Well, it's overbought because the volume's so low. And we could add another layer to this, which is the order book if we wanted to, but we won't. So, oh my gosh, RSI is looking almost overbought already. This is not good, but this is where the power of two indicators, multiple indicators comes in. Because now what we're seeing is, okay, the blue just crossed over the red right here. We're finally seeing that. And look, our staircase is going up and up and up, but it looks like right here, we're at the leveling off point. And this is where the decision would have to be made. Do I stay in this, or do I start to think of bailing? Most people would have bailed. I can honestly say, unless you're working off of higher time frames and maybe looking at some different indicators, you would have pulled out right there and sold off. But you wouldn't have sold off right there. As soon as this next candle opened, look, it's opening lower than the previous, and this candle's where you would have done it. You would have skated out of there with maybe 2%, okay, right? Because what are we seeing? we're seeing that the blue line on the MACD is starting to flatten, and that might mean that it is it's trying to make a change, right? It's trying to maybe cross over again. And we've seen now the RSI go down, and so that signifies, you know, we're a downtrend. Okay, we got further confluence there. Our volume is in the dump, so a lot of people would have sold off, but here's what we would have missed. If we would have held on one more candle, we would have seen this little golden gem, and this right here would have probably kept you in a trade. Reason why is because we saw it dip right here, the RSI, but we see the RSI going back up. Also too, we see the tanking in the, we see the dip or the flat spot in the histogram, but we see a bar, the next one that goes along with this candle I've got on the screen for you, is our volume still low, RSI is upticking, and we've got this green bar on the histogram that's showing us that there's more steam in this. That was a kink in the blue line on the MACD, so look at that, but it's still heading up, and the distance between the red and the blue line is a big gap. So that's usually an indicator of the strength, because if we look here, back in time, look at the distance between the red and blue line, here, red and blue line, and that represents pretty strongly what's happening in price action. Again, lagging indicator. So if we would have held on, especially through this one, we would have just, maybe we screwed up, and this happened, and we're like, ah, shit, and it didn't quite hit our stop loss, and we saw this one, this hammer, we would have stayed in it. Okay? We would have stayed in it. The candle would have told us that, and the RSI would have told us that. And that's what we would have saw next. So now we would have seen this RSI approaching back up to the top. We would have seen what's really going on with the MACD, which that would have been a huge indication for you. Further gapping between the blue and the red. We've got now a higher high on the histogram. All right? And we would have stayed in it. And if we would have, then that's the Mac Daddy. So what we're looking for here is a higher high, okay? And we're seeing it in the price action, higher high, and we're seeing it in the RSI. We peaked above 70, so we're in an extreme overbought territory, higher high. And if we check out the confluence here, look at that. Look at that guy. Okay, he's upticking. Oh, I need more room on this MACD. Let's get this MACD bigger. Okay, so what do we see here? We see this guy going up. We see the little cookie monster going up. Oh, it's killing me. There we go. Let's try this again, now that we got some more room. Okay, so we see this happening right there. Sticking that line up. So that you can see it. Would you just look at it there? Okay, let's delete that. You can see it, right? Going up. And we would have seen that right there. And that would have been it, because we see the higher high happening here, and we're into extreme overbought territory. Volume is up, but we also see this huge opening of the BB bands. So this would have been an indicator, and we would have stayed in it, because you're not going to close out on your positions in this candle. Okay, nobody's going to say that, especially given that this is another hammer, because, well, it's a bigger hammer, I guess you could say. It's got a wick from the bulls trying to pull it up, but nothing from the bears trying to pull it up, so we would have stayed in it. But as soon as this candle started to shape up, this next one, and we saw this, the RSI dip, we saw the volume dip, and we see what's happening here on our histogram, this is starting to change on us. And even though the blue and red are really wide apart and it seems that it's cooking, the histogram is telling us differently. That's a lower high. And now we've peaked on our RSI and we're coming down. RSI I don't use on its own, but I would have followed off of this histogram here. I love the histogram. It's one of my favorites. Okay. We see the red candle shaping up. And let's say even you goofed up and you missed that one. Okay. So now what we're looking at is, in terms of our overall, we grabbed in the middle of this one. Remember I said that? And then we grabbed in right here, 3%. Okay. You missed your exit. You missed this red candle, right? Whereas maybe a lot of guys would have come in right here. And looking at previous support and resistance lines would have probably given you this. looking at sell walls and buy walls might have given you this, because maybe there's some fib retracements you're missing but everybody else is seeing. So by looking in the order books as you're in this trade, as you're seeing this, you would have seen what's called sell walls. We went over that in Mad Hatter strategy video, which is sell walls like 3 BTC, buy wall 3 BTC or 2 BTC, 100, 200, whatever it is. That's a bigger order size, creating and representing a wall in the price action, operating and acting as support on the buy side and resistance on the sell side. Okay, so let's say we goofed up, we missed this, because I got this blue line highlighted here for some reason. It must be a support line. So let's say that we missed that point. Maybe it's a fib retracement from before, I don't know, and we sold off down here. You're still at a nice healthy 3%. Okay, boom, look at that, beautifully done. Congratulations, guys. Okay, and if you missed that, you know, you can further follow along with this. You know, again, let's say you goofed up and you didn't get yourself out of the trade. You would have seen some of this doji action happening, and then following along with the RSI. And it's a good test to just treat this like it's a rolling ticker, like it's happening in time right now. You would have been able to see some bigger patterns. And this is the one I wanted to show you, which is right here. I hope this is correct. Let me just double check it. To a degree it is. Yeah, it's basically called a failure swing. It's a top failure swing. What we're looking at is the RSI is over 70, and in this case it's almost 80, so it's overbought, and it fails to exceed the previous peak. So the RSI fails to have a bigger peak, essentially. So this peak is the high, and then this one is lower. Okay, as the price is going up. Okay, so this is a top failure swing divergence, really. So the RSI is failed to top this top, and the price action is still going up. So this means that it's going to it means bearish. Okay, it means bearish. So that's a good example of that. I want to show you now. I want to show you a couple different examples. Where was the first one? The first one was getting wrecked by just using RSI alone. Where was that example? Was this it right here? Here's a fairly good example of just operating off of. Was it gonna be a good example? Let me look. So then we saw that candle, and we might have thought that was enough. Okay, so here's a good example. Again, we're operating like we're seeing this for the first time. Look at RSI, extremely oversold, right? Extremely oversold. 20. We're sitting at. Oh, look, we're seeing our MACD. Our MACD is actually showing us that it's going to go down further. And then we get this candle come up. Okay, we get this nice fat green candle come up. It's got a nice tall wick. Bulls trying to pull it higher. It looks like we're done sliding, right? And we see this little uptick in RSI, and we see this little action on the histogram that it's it's stepping down. With this action, this should not be enough to bring you in to this trade. You should have waited for confirmation, and if you would have saw this. So if I was just operating off of RSI alone or the MACD, and I was ignoring my other rules, I was ignoring the fact that you should take confirmation. Especially, I don't think we're out of the bear market yet, and the alts haven't fully snapped back yet. But you know, that aside, this candle alone would not have been an entry, even though basically what we're saying is we're seeing and saying that we got this green candle, we're not sliding anymore, right? So most people would think, oh, it's safe now, right? But if you look overall, there's really little indication of that, and that's where you need to start looking for deeper answers. And one of them might have been, we're on a 15-minute, so the 50 line on RSI is less powerful on a 15-minute chart. You want to look at about a 4-hour chart or more. But what you could start to look at is you could start to look at previous support zones for the RSI. You can treat the RSI just like the regular chart to try and get yourself some support and resistance lines. It looks like we might have one flowing right in there. Okay, so what we see is we see some touches on both ends, broke above it here, bounced here, and if we were to get this tighter, then we would see it even better. Bounce above, below, above. So what you're treating this as is if it can't break above this line, and depending on how many bounces that you're seeing, then that would give you indication as well. Okay, so we see, look, all this testing, test. Well, that wasn't a test. That one was not. We have all this testing close in this zone. You can only test a price zone so many times before it breaks, whether that's going up or going down. So that might have been a nice piece of data right there, right? We see this kind of support zone, and I might be a little bit off. Maybe it's up a little higher. Maybe we go off of that right there. And look, we bounce off it 3, 4, 5 times. It's gonna break through. And then we see this breakthrough. That would have been a pretty big indicator that we don't want to, we don't want to grab a position just yet because we got this one green candle. We need to see more going on. We need to see it break above and stay above that line at least 3 times, which we don't see again until here. 1, 2, 3. And then it breaks over again. So we look at support and resistance pretty similarly in RSI, but this alone would not have been enough. It would not have been enough. Looking at other time frames, incorporating volume, might have done it. And then if we would have waited, so let's say you listened to Jay and you waited and this candle started to form, well, that's bad news too, because we saw that this was a little bit of a fake out. And the thing I want to remind you of with the Mad Hatter strategy, it is not perfect. You do not win every single trade. Even this, let's say you went for it. You said, oh, yeah, I'm good. I went for it. You would actually been in that position, stuck in that position. That right there is only about 1%. So that when it finally hits the top EB band, maybe 1%. You would have been stuck in that trade till maybe about here. Or are we at the same? Nope, same line. Maybe 1.25 right there. You would have been stuck in all the way through right there. This guy right here. And by then you would have probably been pretty burnt out in a position. 4 or 5 hour position, so you would have sold out. But that's why you want to double check for confluence. Okay, so what else did I want to show you? Oh, divergence here. Okay, divergence is what? Again, divergence is where our indicators are doing opposite than the price action. Price action's going up. Oh, Jay, come on, happy times. It's great. It's great right now. Okay, but we have lower lows happening here, and granted, at the same time. Where are you? Here we go. We have higher highs. Okay. At the same time, we have lower low. Okay. Which can signify that divergence can signify a change in price action. Or not a change in price action, but a change in trend. Go back to the regular line. There we go. Okay, so we're seeing this, but we're seeing this. So we look at the tops and the bottoms. Okay. What else would have helped us here? We're seeing this happening. We're seeing a big distance between the blue and the red. Everything seems fine, right? We're in it. What notice are you seeing here? So like right here, everything is still happy. Let's say we're in it, right? Use that line, that hard edge line. Everything is good. And then we see that. We see a down tick in the histogram. And then really when we see that form right there and that bounce, we've already seen what's coming. Our histogram is telling us we're obviously seeing a price change and a change in the price action itself. But this right here, seeing that lower low, would have confirmed it if it didn't already get the memo. We're going into this third candle. So we would have seen these two, and we're already starting to see it. Okay, ignore this blue line for a second, but we're already coming back down. And the histogram is already telling us quite a bit. Okay. So let me give you some definitions now. Let me give you some stuff to remember. Divergences is what I said. It shows something different than what price is showing. Okay. So your oscillators does not follow the price, your MACD, whatever it is. It's actually only oscillators. I'm sorry. Oscillator does not follow price. Okay. So this will give you a hint, the strength or weakness of the current trend and what might be coming, okay? So let's talk about common divergences, okay? The price, we see a lower, these are going to be bullish. So let's start with bullish divergences. The price, we're seeing a lower low the indicator, we're seeing a higher low. And that is the easy one to find. Hard one to find, or hidden, would be a higher low on the price and indicator a lower low. So indicator would be a lower low and price would be a higher low. Okay, so we would have a higher low happening. That's the hidden, much harder to find. The easy one to find, and the easy divergence, the bullish divergence to find, is on the price a lower low. So that would be anything like this. So lower low. This one's a lower low. So see, low and then lower low. And an indicator would be a higher low. We didn't see that. So if this was up here, and it was higher than this last low, so that would be a higher low. That would be a bullish divergence. Okay? But we didn't see that. Next, bearish divergences. And the easy one to spot, or easier one to spot, is that the price, we're seeing a higher high. And the indicator, we're seeing a lower high. Okay, so in here, you would have seen it look more like that. So we got this big peak right here, and the next peak would have been lower, not higher, it would have been lower on the indicator, or the RSI. And the price, we would have seen this, higher high. Okay, higher high here, and we would have seen this look more like that. Okay, so we would have seen that downtrending. And the hidden is on the price, we see a lower high. All right, so maybe that would be, do we have a good quick example of that? Not really. No, maybe this one a little bit. On the price, we have a lower high, and on the indicator, we have a higher high. So here's a higher high. If we look at that, we have the highest high here, peak here, then this one's higher. Okay, so on the indicator, we have a higher high, and on the price, we have a lower high, which is starting to downtick a little bit. All right, so those are divergences. Divergences alone, again, I think those you really, let me make sure that I got all these. Those you really stack on top. Yeah, so this is our false top. Divergences you stack on top, and they're extremely powerful when you get good at these with RSI. I'm still learning them myself, but this is what you apply to RSI. So this is when you start diving in here deeper. So it's not just as simple as, oh, 30, 70, yeah, okay, it's doing some stupid shit in the middle. I don't know what that means. You come in here, you start to plot out your support and resistance lines, you know, and a support and resistance line can have 2 touches in RSI. I usually allow that. Whereas a support line in the normal charting is 3. If you want to be super specific, you could, same rule, 3 touches, and it's considered a support line. But you can start to see those. You zoom out here, and this stuff will get good. It'll get to be second nature for you. But yeah, so looks like we got a spot right in there. And this is what you're looking at. And you kind of plot some of these out, and you zoom back in time at the historic, and you start to see how that, if you would have looked at that right away, you would have seen that. So here's our big run up for today, this big section here. Good run up, very, very good. What's the whole move? The whole move from, let's say, middle of that candle up to the tippy top, 7%. Okay, 7%. And all of that is done using an extremely easy strategy. Okay, we have the Mad Hatter strategy. You've already learned about that. And hopefully this has given you some more insight into the indicators. Holy cow, this video has been 30 effing minutes long. I think it's time to end it right there. I love talking about indicators and looking through back testing, looking through historic data. But what you can expect in the future is you can expect me to go through live trading, where I look through the screener. Oh my gosh, here's a possible setup. Let me find a setup. Boom, I get a setup. I'm engaged in a trade, and hopefully, you know, I'll kind of pause it and then go through the trade itself and execute it. You can also expect me to use the Mad Hatter strategy in the Hassbot and continuing the Hass trading series, which you can expect to happen this week. And that's it. If you want to keep learning, then jump into the level 1 trading that we've got. We've got a ton of great supplementing training to get you beefed up on RSI, MACD, candle reading, and Bollinger Bands. Pretty simple stuff, but if you apply yourself to this for the next 30 days, you will be good at a ton of the basics that 99% of people don't even know. So you will know more than most people in this market. That will give you power. That will give you power in your decision making, and that will surely make your wallet fatter with more and more Satoshis, my friends. If this is the first time you've come to the channel and you're liking what we're doing, smash the like button and subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell notification so you don't miss out on any future training. And we'll see you soon. Okay, be on the lookout because we'll be dropping more training this week.